Hi, AP Physics 2 parents. I'm Bob Barnes. Most of you probably know me from last year from AP Physics 1. We only have two students in AP Physics 2 this year, which would be Matthew Herons and James Lovering. So hello, Mr. and Mrs. Herons. Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Lovering. We do have three other students registered. The other three students are Wei Ming students who chose to stay in China for the beginning of this school year because of the pandemic. We expect them back at the beginning of second semester, so we'll have 5 students for the second semester of the course, which is unusual. We usually have, every year I've taught this since 2015, since AP Physics 2 has been a course, it has been at least 9 up to 14 students. And we usually have some Marian girls, so this is a little bit of an unusual year because we had a smaller group of students taking AP Physics 1 last year, and there's only 8 students eligible for this class last year, so of the 8, 5 chose to take it, 3 are still in China, so James and Matthew are the 2 students for now. So that's an interesting situation. It's a good situation from their standpoint for the most part, because we'll get to do a lot of things in more depth than we would normally get to. Some of the more interesting topics we'll get to explore in more depth and be able to answer any questions they have as we go through methodically instead of kind of rushing through things because we have to get through everything in a certain amount of time with a larger class. The downside is that with more students, you get more different perspectives, interesting questions. Each student brings a little something to the table as far as their perspective and their curiosity. So unfortunately, we'll be missing some of that, but on the whole, I think it's an advantage for James and Matthew to be in a small class like this because it really, the student-teacher ratio couldn't be much better of 2 to 1, so that's pretty cool. In any event, this class is a second semester college physics class, algebra based. AP Physics 1 is a first semester college physics class, algebra based. It is going to cover topics that students would expect to see in their second semester physics class. For instance, thermodynamics, fluid mechanics. We'll talk about electricity and magnetism, which is actually the biggest single topic that we have in AP Physics 2. That will cover about 30 to 35% of the material and about that much of the period of time that we have from mid-August until early May. We'll also talk about optics. That's how light interacts with mirrors and lenses and behaves as a particle. We also examine how light behaves as a wave sometimes. That's referred to as physical optics. And then we'll also explore modern physics as the last big unit of the year. And we'll start that in early April, and that covers things like nuclear physics, atomic physics, quantum mechanics, and things like that. So all these topics will be on the AP Physics 2 exam in May. Your sons took the AP Physics 1 exam last May. Instead of a 3-hour multiple choice and free response exam, it was a 45-minute free response only test that only had 2 free response questions. Normally it would have 5 questions in the free response only, and then 50 multiple choice questions. So if things are normal this year, that's the test that your students will take in May of this year. Your students did extremely well last year on the AP Physics 1 test. They're in the top 9% of students that took the exam globally. And the reason you should feel especially good about that is that doesn't reflect the top 9% of the general student population. That's the top 9% of students that took the AP Physics 1 exam, which are the top students in the schools that they each go to. And most schools have the choice for students to either take or not take the exam. So when you're saying you finish in the top 9% of those students, those are the kids that took the class and then chose to take the exam. So they expected to do well. So you should be very proud of your boys. Historically, I'll tell you, our students at Brother Rice do pretty well on the AP test. The data I'm showing you here is for AP Physics 2. So the AP Physics 2 exam results, they do a 2-year running average, so it's not focused on just 1 year. I've been teaching this since 2016. I don't have the 2020 exam scores up here because the 2020 exam was such a different exam with only 2 questions that I chose not to mix it in with the traditional exam results. But you can see we perform better on a nationwide average. We generally, the AP Physics 2 students over the last couple of years have scored a 3.7 on average versus a nationwide average of a little below 2.9. The highest score you can get is a 5, the lowest is a 1. And our pass rate is really good at 91% compared to the national pass rate of about 60%. So I would expect your students to do extremely well on the test again this year, next May. The way to get a hold of me, I don't think I mentioned it, but I think you probably know how to get a hold of me. It was on the board behind me when we opened up. You've got my email address, you've got my phone number here at school, so you can reach me that way. I think I'll show you quickly what the classroom looks like. If you weren't here in the classroom last year, it's a little different. We have the desks spaced out, as you can see, in a more traditional orientation because of the needs of social distance. I usually would have them pushed together as tables. And in the back, you see our lab tables, so we still have a generous lab space, and you see the 2 monitors back there to be able to display all the information to kids that sit in the back. Not a big issue for your guys who are all, who are both sitting up front. So that's really it. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me over the course of the year, and we will communicate regularly as we need to. And I look forward to working with you over the course of the year. I look forward to working with your students as well and your children, and we will be talking, I'm sure. Thank you. Have a great afternoon.